When I was a boy each week, on Sunday we would go to church, pay attention to the priest, that he would read the holy word and consecrate the holy bread, and everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. And when I was in Sunday school, we would learn about the time Moses split the sea in two, and Jesus made the water wine. And I remember feeling sad, miracles don't happen still. Now I can't keep track, 'cause everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Wine from water is not so small, but an even better magic trick is that anything is here at all. So the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, but finding where there isn't one. When holy water was rare at best, it barely wet my fingertips, but now I have to hold my breath like I'm swimming in a sea of it. It used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down, but I walk it with a reverend air, 'cause everything is holy now. Child's face, say it's not a testament, that'd be very hard to say. See another new morning come, say it's not a sacrament, and tell you that it can't be done. This morning outside I stood, I saw a little red-winged bird shining like a burning bush and singing like a scripture verse. It made me want to bow my head. I remember when church let out, how things have changed since then. Everything is holy now. It used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down, but I walk it with a reverend air, 'cause everything is holy now.
How many of you are familiar with that song? Lots of hands in here. I remember several years ago, we had a transitional minister here named Barry Vennard. And he was the first person to introduce me to that song. And the way that he introduced me to that song was he came in just tears down his face. And he said, "I want to share something with you." And I said, "Okay." And he took me back to the office and he said, "Here, just listen to this song." And as he stood there, listening, watching me listen to this song, he's just pouring tears down his face. And I don't know if crying is contagious for you, but it certainly is for me. And so every time that I hear that song, that's who I think of. And I think about the fact that I so appreciate this songwriter putting words to this feeling that I've often had throughout my life. And I'm sure many of you have too. You go through cycles, don't you, where we have this vast expanse of what is sacred, what's holy to us. And then we'll cycle through and it comes down to the acute, right? We just see little things and we're like, "Oh yeah, those ants in my house, boy, there's some holiness there." But they can't stay, can they? So then you have to kind of learn how you're going to balance those things, right? Balance seeing this sacredness in all places and in all things. And so just as a little aside, I want to share with you, as I was putting together these pictures, I thought, this is all about what's sacred to us. And so I am sharing my photography with you through this talk of sacred places for me and sacred moments. So enjoy them as we go through. So this week we're talking about a conversation with God. And what is that? But simply put, prayer, right? Very simply put, prayer is this conversation that we have with God. It's this experience of evolution, as Eleanor put it, that as we evolve in our experience in lives, as we evolve in our understanding of seeing our own thoughts and feelings, we're also evolving in our understanding of what prayer is and to whom we are praying, right? If you're like me, then when I was little, I knew, I even drew him once, this old man on a big throne in heaven with clouds everywhere and angels singing, and that is to whom I prayed. Well, that's very different now, right? Because as I got older and I started thinking for myself and I started experiencing the world around me and I started seeing the value and the wonder and the sacredness of those ants. How many of you played with anthills when you were a kid? Right? Because it's fascinating. There's a reason that fascinates us. It's because we do recognize and see that there's a holiness in it. I don't care if you were burning them with a magnifying glass. I don't know if that's true. I just felt it. But so the thing is that as we grow and develop, that changes. And this week, Unity Worldwide Ministries is celebrating the Unity World Day of Prayer. And this is the 30th year. And this year, it's focused on the heart of healing, the healing light of love, prayer, and unity. And in the past, we have had Unity World Day of Prayer celebrations here locally. This year, I'm not able to accomplish that, so we'll be looking forward to next year for a local celebration. But there are links in this most recent e-blast to go in and register to be part of the virtual event that's happening in Kansas City. And every year that this happens, it brings to mind that we have this incredible opportunity to be connected with people all around the world in prayer. So, true prayer, as defined by the Unity Correspondence School, is a time when our consciousness is free from worry or tension, and we are an open channel for the inflow of the inspiration and enlightenment of spirit. That's a lot. I see some faces going, what? So I'll say it again. True prayer is a time when our consciousness is free from worry or tension, free from anxiety. It's a time when we've let go the worries about the bills or the health. It's a time when we've let go of the concerns for our loved ones. And we open ourselves to be a channel for the inflow of the inspiration and enlightenment of spirit. Charles Fillmore and Myrtle Fillmore and Emily Cady, all these early Unity teachers, they had a language that doesn't always translate to 2023. So we are opening ourselves to receive the messages, the inspiration, the voice, and guidance of spirit. So Charles Fillmore has this wonderful invocation for prayer. And I want to share it with you. And as I do, I invite you to just close your eyes and think about that meaning of true prayer. Think of those challenges that have been coming to you, right? Think of the money challenges. Think of all of those things for which you would hold prayer. And just hold them for a moment. And allow these words to just simply wash over you. I am now in the presence of pure being. I am immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. I acknowledge thy presence and thy power, O blessed Spirit, and thy divine wisdom now erase my mortal limitations. And from thy pure substance of love, bring into manifestation my world according to thy perfect law. As we breathe into the awareness of the state of spirit, we become aware of that essence of pure being. This invocation of prayer always transports me. It transports me from that space of worry and tension And it takes me into the space of being an open channel to receive, to understand, to communicate, and to have the conversation with God. And if the G word gets you, I have that conversation with love. I have that conversation with pure being. I have that conversation with the very creative force of spirit. So prayer is often identified as being healing. It's that healing power of connecting with the presence of God. And healing, really, it's the realization of the highest levels of consciousness. Right? When we are functioning at our lowest point, we've all been there. At our lowest point, when we could not, in any way, shape, or form, get ourselves raised, right? We're depressed. Everything is heavy. We can't move forward. And somehow, miraculously, something happens, doesn't it? Something happens. Perhaps it's a friend calls. Perhaps you just happened to see the sun that day and it awakened your inner being. And it's in that moment that we begin to start healing. We start moving our levels of consciousness to a higher state, to where we are no longer in victimhood, or we are no longer oppressive to someone else. Two different levels of consciousness. We're moving into a space where we are a vessel. That's another state of consciousness, that we are an open vessel, a conduit for the presence of God. And finally, when we get to the point where we are in a full realization of our oneness, it's called verity, our oneness with God. We are in that path of healing. Jesus talked about whatever things you ask for in prayer, believe that you will receive it. Believe it's already done, right? Sometimes that's hard to do in our humanity. But that's the difference between praying from our divine selves versus praying from our human experience, is that when we are praying from our divinity, from our inner knowing of the presence of God, we know the answer is there. We know that it is being brought into demonstration because that's what Jesus demonstrated in his life. And we at Unity, we study and we learn through Jesus' life and teachings, not his death, right? We don't focus on the death part, we focus on the living. We focus on the fact that Jesus showed us how to demonstrate. And demonstration is realizing something in our consciousness and bringing it into manifestation in the physical realm. That idea that you had while you were in prayer, to fix something, to repair something. Right? Whether it be a relationship or perhaps it's your finances, perhaps it's something in your home you need a repair. And in prayer, something comes to you. That process of taking action is the fullness of demonstration. And you are the one that is the conduit of answering that prayer. That divine intervention. Make sense? Oh, good. So, what do you mean we have to pray a certain way? How do we do it? Is that your question next? So, if we go back to that meaning of true prayer, which is the next slide, and you see one of my favorite pictures of all time, this is the crown of thorns. And a time when our consciousness is free from worry and tension, and we are the open channel for the inflow of the inspiration and enlightenment of spirit. Okay? So there's a process that can support you in this. It's called the 5-step prayer process. And this process is so easy that you'll say, oh, I do that. Or you'll say, oh, I can do that. And the first step is to relax. Just relax. Find a space in your body and in your environment where you can just be at peace, right? Relaxation. Breathe. Take a couple of breaths. Do the work to calm your body, to indicate to your body and your brain that it's okay. You're releasing worry and tension, right? And then we're going to concentrate. This is a gentle focus of the mind. So it's bringing into your awareness the truth beneath the worry or concern. What is it that's really at the root here? Right? And that's what we're praying into. That's the concentration. Then we allow ourselves to be in a state of meditation. Okay? This is keeping and entering into the silence. That experience that some of you, I hope many of you, shared following that invocation, that prayer invocation. That deafening silence where all of a sudden you realize, oh, it's just me. It's just me and this infinite presence of God. That's all there is here. Being in that state of meditation. Finally, realization, this deep inner knowing of truth. Have you ever had that where you just know? You know the answer. You know the fulfillment of this question. You know that this prayer is moving forward. This is the inner knowing of the truth that prayers are already answered. Just because they are already answered, I will remind our human bodies that that does not mean that it's always what we think we want. Sometimes it is. This is the realization. And finally, it's the appreciation, the gratitude, the thank you. But have you ever had, I think of my son because he's 8, and when he does something that hurts me, I expect him to go within, I know this is asking a lot, and find out why it hurt me before he apologizes. I don't want him to come up and say, sorry, right? So when we're in our stages and steps of prayer, we're not saying, thank you, God. Thank you. We're not doing it because we have to. We are being filled with gratitude. Because in that moment, we are claiming the truth that this prayer is answered. And when we do things with emotion, when we do things with body and presence, it changes how it shows up, doesn't it? So if I were to say to you that gratitude is the thing that we do to express that we know things are going to happen. Thank you. Which one of those do you believe? Right? So we have to move into that state of our humanness, and we have to say, all right, I am both human and divine. I'm going to bring these things together, and I'm going to feel it. I'm going to feel the goosebumps on my body. I'm going to feel the excitement, the anticipation of this prayer's result, because it's wonderful. I want to share with you really quickly before I finish up that when we were buying a house, we had been, where we had been living, it was okay. We'd been there for like 15 years. It wasn't the greatest neighborhood, but we were okay. And then my husband was at home studying in the kitchen, and he heard what he thought was a gunshot, but didn't think too much of it because, you know, that happens when you live in a city. And then we saw the drawer was broken, and there was a hammer. And we thought, okay, that kid's been in here doing something. And then we saw that there was a hole. And then we saw the hole out the house. And I found the 9mm bullet in our laundry basket across the room. It had ricocheted 3 times. And we felt really uncomfortable at that point. You know, I know some of you might think that's silly, but so we were looking for a new house. And I went to the showing of this house that I thought was a long shot. And when I got there, I knew, this is our house. This is our house. And I called my husband and I said, hey, you know what? You got to come see this house. We're going to schedule a showing for you after work. And then I got a call at lunch that said, nope, final and best offers due before he gets off work. And I called him and I said, hey, should we do this? What do we do? What are you going to do? This is our house. And he said, well, if it's our house, then put a bid on it. Set up a contract. And I said, okay. So we did. So then I got the call the next day that we were in a bidding war with 12 other people. So the natural thing to do is to what? Panic. But instead, I got out my drum. And I sat on my bed and I started praying. And I just was drumming because it helped to calm my body, get some rhythm, right? Coming into the space of releasing worry and tension.
I am here. I am whole as I am. I am safe. I am loved as I am. I am grateful and I'm free. And I'm as perfect as can be. I am here. I am whole as I am. Nothing can illuminate the darkness like a serenade. Nothing can make peace like a song. We've got a ways to go, but then we're closer than we've ever been. So let's walk together on and on. I am here. I am whole as I am. propose a family that looks a lot like you and me, including all the people that we love. Then we'll take a photograph of everybody as they laugh, put it in the book entitled Us. I am here, I am whole as I am. I am saved, I am loved as I am. I am grateful and I'm free. I'm as perfect as can be. I am here, I am whole as I am. May seem just like a song, may seem just like a thought, but it soon will take hold, become a truth that's taught for generations, generations, generations. I am here, I am whole as I am. I am safe, I am loved as I am. I am grateful and I'm free. I'm as perfect as can be. I am here, I am whole as I am. As I am. I am here, I am whole as I am. I am safe, I am loved as I am. I am grateful and I'm free. I'm so grateful. And I'm as perfect as can be. There is nothing wrong with me. I am here, I am whole as I am. Oh, just as I am. I am here, I am whole as I am.
Who felt that? Yeah. So Summer Osborne, the songwriter who created that beautiful song, has been at the Unity People's Convention the last 2 years performing. She's from Kansas City, St. Louis. The convention's in Kansas City. And she's just this powerful presence of love. And when she's there singing, she's usually performing just before we have a prayer service, before the day gets into the meetings and all the stuff, you know. And what I noticed this year was that as she sang that song, here are all these Unity ministers who have, many of them, been studying for decades, and they have a real belief in what they teach. But when this song comes on, they stand up and they hold themselves and they cry and they sing, because we've all got that stuff, right? Every once in a while, we have a doubt that we're showing up as we're supposed to and it's okay, right? Every once in a while. Sometimes we get away with it and nobody knows but us, but then we know, right? And I thought, what a beautiful way to enter into this message today of life as a prayer. So how many of you received your e-blast and clicked on the song? I see a few hands. If you didn't, you missed out, and you better go back and open it. Because it is that song that inspired this message. And I thought about playing that song today, but this other one, As I Am, was so perfect also. So, see, you need to check your e-blast. So, in this song, Life is a Prayer, it's written by Stowe Good. Some of you may remember who they are. It's a duet, and it's performed by Stowe Daly and Karen Taylor Good. Wonderful songwriters. And they sing the song that life is a prayer. And it's my life is a prayer that God is praying. And the first time that I heard that, I thought, huh? My life is a prayer that God is praying. My thoughts are the prayers that God is saying. Laughter is the sound of angels playing, and I immediately think of young people. I immediately think of that loud toddler voice that was laughing hysterically while we were trying to have a quiet dinner. And I heard people around me getting frustrated and upset. And Brian and I just kind of looked at each other like, it's cute. Better that than crying. My life is a prayer that God is praying. So all of these faces, all of these expressions, all of these emotions that we have, it's this process of us being the outpicturing of God, right? So if this is the life, if my life is what is the prayer that God is praying, what is life? Life is defined as the condition that distinguishes animals and plants and humankind from inorganic matter. So life is breathing and growing, reproducing and changing. It's constantly in movement, right? Even when we are seemingly still, our cells are regenerating. Things are moving within our bodies, even if we're not consciously aware of it. Just like as that tree is standing still, even though there's no wind, there's no movement, there is that process of photosynthesis happening. And there's the process of drawing nutrients from the soil, right? It's constantly in motion. And so too are we in our experience, constantly in motion. So that draws us to this idea of prayer. Last week we talked about the 5-step prayer process. Do you guys remember? Anybody? What's number 1? Relaxation. We have to relax. Let go, right? Relaxation. Anybody know the next one? Oh, I'm sorry to put you on the spot. I'm sorry to do that to you. I should have put the slide up there and I didn't. But I'm going to say it to you exactly as I said it last week. So I don't want to paraphrase. So it's relaxation, concentration. It's the gentle focus of the mind. That's what I'm looking for, is the second part. The gentle focus of the mind. What is your prayer request, right? The meditation, that's where we enter into the silence. We move into the quiet. Just like right after we finished that song, As I Am, it was so quiet. And there were those of you that were really feeling that. The realization, this is the one that I wanted to get exactly the same as last week. Deep inner knowing of the truth that our prayers are already answered. It's already done. And then finally, of course, appreciation, which is that gratitude piece, right? You guys remember that. We don't just say thanks. We say thank you. Thank you. And so we want to get into a little bit of the differences between traditional prayer and Unity's affirmative prayer. So traditional prayer, you guys probably have heard this or seen it or experienced it yourself, where you have to be on your knees in penance, right? This is a traditional prayer. It approaches God as a personality, as a kind of human with superhuman powers, right? That big presence in the sky, that old man, or maybe it's Alanis Morissette. Who knows? Some of you have seen the movie. And you begin to start beseeching, and it's begging, strives to convince a God personality to supply a need or desire, right? You begin bargaining, right? Oh, please, God, save this person, and if you do, I'll never lie again. If you save this person, I will always open doors for people, right? You come up with some sort of a tit for tat, a quid pro quo, so to speak, that if you do this for me, I will do this for you. It presumes that God is hesitant. It presumes that God is capricious or withholding, or that God must be persuaded by that exchange or that sacrifice. Did anybody grow up in that kind of prayer? I did. I see a lot of hands coming up. That is a traditional style of prayer. And I don't think it's wrong. It's just different. There are people throughout generations who have seen enormous changes occur through traditional prayer. When I was attending parochial school, which is Catholic school, there was Mother Giovanni. She was the mother of the convent that served the school. And let me tell you, if Mother Giovanni prayed for you, things changed. It was known. And she used to teach in California. And she was a teacher to the Stars children. So there were literally people from all over the United States sending prayers to Mother Giovanni. Mother Giovanni had a very traditional prayer practice. But in Unity, we have what's called affirmative prayer. Affirmative prayer, it cultivates our oneness with the one power and the one presence. Divine mind, the consciousness of God. We're no longer praying to this thing beyond. We are praying to this one presence that is everywhere. There is only one presence and one power in my life and in the universe. And if it's in the universe, where does it have to be? Everywhere, including you. That it's identifying divine nature as our true nature. that we claim our divinity just as Jesus had taught us to do, right? Jesus said that it is through the authority, not of himself, but of the Father who dwells within him. So it is not through our own authority that we speak these affirmative prayers. It is through the authority of our divine nature, that presence of God. Through affirmative prayer, we reveal the highest truth that we can comprehend in the moment. And I love this distinction, that it's the highest truth that we can comprehend in the moment. Because one of my favorite things about Charles Fillmore, who's the co-founder of the Unity Movement, and I was just speaking with someone on the board last week about this, that Charles Fillmore really frustrated people who liked dogma, who liked to tell you what to do. He frustrated those people because they wanted some order. They wanted to have this written checklist of what you must do. And Charles Fillmore said, no. I'm not going to define this as the end law because everything is changing. Because we are in our life. I reserve the right to change my mind. Isn't it wonderful when you think that you know the answer and then all of a sudden somebody comes along and they say, well, that's contrary to what I think is true. And they say, no, it's not. And then you're watching the news. So what we see is that in this space, we have the ability to change our mind. And it is at those different levels of consciousness we are revealing through this affirmative prayer. Make sense? That one moment we may be functioning in victim consciousness, and that's okay. But the next time that we go into this prayer, we can be functioning at victor consciousness, and we've shifted gears, haven't we? We've moved to a different level of consciousness. And yet we may even move even further into a space where we understand that we are a vessel, a conduit, a movement of the presence of God. And that's a whole nother level of consciousness, a whole nother level of realization in that moment. You with me? Okay. So we're realizing the truth. We're realizing the truth for ourselves. Myrtle Fillmore, who is the co-founder of the Unity Movement, she has this to say about prayer. Prayer is the most effective method of renewal and transformation because in prayer we associate with God, not the problem. In prayer, we're associating with God, not the problem. So later today, we are going to have a booth at the Open Streets Wichita event, which is an event where the city closes off the main drag of Douglas. And there are games and parties and food trucks and fun. And kids can drive up and down the middle of the street on their bikes or scooters or walk the dog. And one of the things that we're going to have available at our booth is this little flyer. And one side says, "Are you tired of praying the problem?" Have you ever asked yourself that? Man, I'm tired of praying this problem. Right? So here's some examples. If you're feeling really lonely, or you're really just tired of being single, right? We all have that experience. Even if we're in a committed, successful relationship, sometimes we feel lonely. So an affirmative prayer that we could use in that space is, I am a lovable person living a life full of opportunity. I am open to receive relationships that support my life in a positive way. I am grateful for the presence and activity of God in my life. Amen. Right? This is praying the truth of who and what we are. Here's another one. My friend or my family is hurt or sick, just like our prayer this morning. The generative nature of God is present at every point, even at the point of my loved one's physical body and experience. I affirm the wholeness, the well-being, and the healing activity of God in my loved one's body and life, and so it is. Right? Do you hear the difference? We could be focusing on the surgery and all the problems that happened after it. We could be focusing on the inflammation. We could be focusing on the loss of blood. We could be focusing on the mistake that someone made. Or we could be focusing on that very presence of God that is holding the truth in this situation. Right? Yeah. Finally, this one is familiar to a lot of people, especially right now. I'm struggling to pay my bills. I'm experiencing lack. I am a unique and unrepeatable expression of God. That alone brings value, right? That alone lifts the trade value. As Jesus demonstrated with the loaves and fish, there is no lack or limitation in God. I affirm all things are possible. I release doubt. I release fear. I know I am fully supported by God in my life, in my finances, in my health. I am open to receive. I am open to receive. I am so grateful. And this would be a wonderful opportunity to start realizing the value of the life that you have, the gifts, the treasures, the presents that you have, of your family, of your home. And if you're houseless, right? That's a question that always comes up. Well, what about those people? Have you ever seen the group of houseless individuals that gather downtown? And there are some that have grocery carts full of supplies to support them. Some of them are there by choice, some of them are there by circumstance. But either way, in that moment, there are opportunities. There are services like Humankind Ministries. These are things to be grateful for. So even in that extreme moment, we have what we need. Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of the Unity Movement, along with Myrtle, and Teach Us to Pray, he says this: one who has mastered the primary technique of prayer has made contact with the spiritual ethers that connect all minds, right? So Charles Fillmore is talking about this space all around us, the spiritual ethers. And it connects all minds, high and low consciousness, and by means of which great reforms for the good of mankind can be projected into the world's thought ether. So what he's saying is that as we even have the simplest prayer practice, we are connecting to this field of oneness, this field of divine mind where we are all connected in the one presence and the one power. And we can support and elicit change, shifts in consciousness by simply being present in that space, even in the simplest of ways. Thank you, God, right? It shifts things, it moves things. So, as we're living our life today, and moving through all the changes that happen, the feelings, the thoughts, the laughter. Think about that your life is a life that God is praying, right? My life is a prayer that God is praying. My life is this experience of the presence of God that's within me, being pressed into visibility, right? So we don't have to feel like we have to change. We don't have to feel like we have to be something better or different. We can come just as I am, right? I am here. I am whole as I am. I am safe. I am loved. I am grateful and free. I am as perfect as can be, just as I am. Do you believe that? Beautiful. So in this moment, I invite you to take a big, deep breath. One more time. Let that voice through. Because in this moment, we have the opportunity to shift our awareness, our consciousness, and move into a powerful affirmative prayer in our experience today. Are you excited? Yes, I like that. Yes. But I'm going to ask you again, are you excited? There it is. And so if you'd like to bring that excitement and join us at Open Streets, we would love to have you if you're available. It's 1 to 4. It'll be fun. Thank you so, so much.
When